The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org. This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area. The Chicory House Bistro at the Rink offers breakfast and lunch daily. And now a new bar upstairs inside the Garden District Bookshop, 2727 Britannia Street at Washington Avenue. Learn more at therinknola.com. Steppin Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
Whether it's the latest museum exhibit, the newest restaurant, or the current hot play,
we appreciate the weekly updates on the arts, music, and entertainment. Let's step out.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Alan Smason, editor of the Crescent City Jewish News and theatercriticism.com. Hello,
Hey,
Mr. Alan. Hello. Longtime New Orleans actor Lance Nichols, who together with his wife Zardes they're both producing a staged reading of the play Bridge in the Distance. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
It's great to see you again. It's been a while. Bruce Spizer, oh my, author of the new book, The Beatles, A Hard Day's Night and More. Good to see you.
Good seeing you.
And Danny Monteverde, all right, communications director for next week's Louisiana Book Festival and the State Library of Louisiana, and formerly with Channel 4
That's
for
right.
many years. And Poppy returns next week. But Alan, Bob Dylan in a musical.
Yeah, but if attendees going to the opening production of the Broadway Across New Orleans series, Girl from the North Country, and they're looking for a jukebox musical of Bob Dylan's music and his better-known songs, and they're really looking for The Times They Are Changing, which was a musical flop that occurred in 2006, written, choreographed, and conceived and directed by Twyla Tharp. Girl from the North Country, whose title comes from an early Dylan song on the Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, is a vehicle for playwright Conor McPherson to really demonstrate his remarkable talent to write beautifully and poetically for the stage. Now, the book is written in such a way that its voice is what drives Girl from the North Country. McPherson's direction is also deliberate. He's one of Ireland's best living playwrights. His words really greatly matter. The songs are beautiful, but they're really more dressing that accentuate his words, and he leaves almost no room for the usual applause that would typically follow a performance of the sort in a musical. Dylan's songs are especially evocative of that era of the Depression, even though they are anachronistic, having been penned some 3 years and beyond the period in which the characters are set in a rooming house in Duluth, Minnesota in 1934. The ensemble nature of this work, though, Peggy, is really at its very heart. Lead performers take the front of the stage to sing with several microphones, while many of the remaining cast members work in the background, supporting them with harmonious choruses. The music selections are not among the most famous of Dylan tunes, but McPherson, who's the director, and also helped to arrange some of the songs, was really deliberate in his choices. With more than 2,600 seats, the Sanger Theater is too large a venue to pull its massive audience into the intimacy that's really demanded by McPherson. The further back one goes in the Sanger, the harder it is to hear, and the words are more difficult to interpret and to feel the emotions of the actors on stage. When the show played on Broadway at the Belasco and in London at the Old Vic, the size of the venues are only about 1,000 seats. This is a great ensemble cast, though, with equity actors who really hold the audience's rapt attention, and I have to say, the singing is absolutely superb. The orchestrations are rendered by arranger and musical supervisor Simon Hale, and they have additional arrangements by McPherson. McPherson's hand is in everything, though. It clearly shows that he wanted really none of Dylan's music to upstage his words. There's hardly any time, or even a brief musical measure, that really doesn't have a transition that's directly into a spoken phrase or action on stage. But this is a Conor McPherson triumph. But if you're going to go there to enjoy Bob Dylan's music, you're going to be sadly disappointed. recorded. You can take in the words and listen to the songs with these new arrangements. They don't even really sound a lot like Dylan, but you will be very happy if you're there for the Conor McPherson aspects. Girl from the North Country continues through this weekend at the Sanger. Now, for those of you who remember the COVID shutdown, the very first play to usher in the return of Broadway was Passover. That was a new take on Waiting for Godot. It's representative of American black culture and created quite a stir when it premiered. The NOLA Project has announced that Passover will be its opening production for their new season with their new artistic director, Naj Wallace, at the helm. And here's a photo of the cast. You just saw that includes Martin Batts Bradford, D.C. Paul, and Keith Clavery. That's going to be at the New Orleans African American Museum on Governor Nichols Street coming up at the end of the month. Also opening at the end of the month that same weekend is the Frank Wildhorn musical Jekyll and Hyde, based on the novella by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is one of my favorite musicals back from the 90s. It's dark, not recommended for young children, but the songs are wonderful, and I recommend it very highly. Get your tickets now. Another opening that same weekend is Rivertown Theater's Toxic Avenger. It's a musical spoof based on a 1984 splatter film. It's played here once before, but I'm looking forward to seeing it staged at Rivertown, where it will be directed, again, I hope, by Gary Rucker. The Toxic Avenger, again, starts October the 25th through November the 10th. And then, again, I have to tell you, Peggy, we were talking about a lot of things going on in the situation at theaters, etc. Those of you who went to see the show at the Sanger may have noticed this green encore rather than the yellow playbill. That's because this is going to become the standard now. Playbill was in negotiation with Broadway Across America, and this is now the new publication because Playbill decided to charge those theaters several $1 million, and they said, nope, we're going to go with Encore.
Okay.
So
you
you'll see
wanted
Encore
to mention
moving
one
forward.
more thing about grants.
I did. For those theater companies or producers who are planned or are planning to cast black and indigenous people into traditional roles or plays, the Sherry Marina grant is going to have a firm deadline tomorrow for grant requests for up to $10,000. But if you're writing an original work, you must send a copy to Brian Sand, whose email is listed here, and that's before midnight on October the 19th. And Lance, of course, the reading you're going to be speaking about today was made possible by a Carol Sutton grant. It's the same grant, but the names change each year to give extra honor to both Sherry and Carol, who we lost a few years ago.
All right. Thank you so much. And Lance, it's great to have you. And you're wearing your producing hat this time, too.
I'm wearing my producing hat and my acting hat.
Yes.
But I'm really, really excited about this stage reading. This is a play that came to me about a year ago. Playwright is Clarence Holmes Jr., who's originally from New Orleans but has been living in Houston since Hurricane Katrina. He's a former professor at Dillard University. This year marks the 90th anniversary as Dillard University being the oldest HBCU to offer a degree in theater arts. So in commemoration of that, my wife's artist and I felt like we wanted to do something to sort of honor that. And so this play came to us. It's a short one-act play set in 1965 in Selma, Alabama, 1 week after Bloody Sunday. And the central theme of the play is every vote counts.
And we have some of the actors who were in the play as well as Mr. Holmes. So we'll show that as we're talking.
And so with this being a very important election year coming up and next month, we thought that this play was very timely. And we're very excited to do it. It's a free event. So there's no cost involved. The production will be October 26th and 27th at the Andre Caillou Center.
Now let's explain where that is.
I'm going to give the address.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the old, I can't think, it's the big church.
St. Rose de Lima.
St. Rose
right
de
off
Lima
Broad.
Church at 2541 Bayou Road. It has been now taken over by a theater group, and that's where we're going to stage this. It's a free event, October 26th at 7:30 p.m., October 27th at 6 p.m. And how you sign up, since it's a free event, we actually have an event page. The event page is Lanzardes Productions celebrates Dillard University 90th anniversary. I'll repeat that again. Lanzardes Productions celebrates Dillard University's 90th anniversary. And if you go to that event page, you can click either interested or going. And that's how we are keeping a head count of how many people can attend.
Now, this is a large cast, isn't it?
It's a cast of 5 people. Well, actually, 7 actors. 2 are just voiceover only, and 5 actors. Lakeisha Glover, who's a Dillard alumni, plays a role. We have a wonderful kid, Mosiah Shartnock, 10-year-old boy, who's sort of making his stage debut with us. His dad, Jonas Chartnock, is one of the voiceovers. Myself, I'm in the cast. Kenneth Brown, who you've seen in many different theater productions across around New Orleans, he's also in the cast. And then my wife's artist is doing the narration. So
Who
it's
is
an in-house
also a
production.
she is so versatile, also a very talented singer.
She is. She's a wonderful jazz singer, and you've been so kind to have her on the show a couple of times, and so we're looking forward to her coming out again in 2025.
Well, Lance, you are incredible because you've been in the biz, in the acting biz for a long time, and are things starting to pick up in terms of since the pandemic? Are you keeping pretty busy? Or?
I'm keeping busy. Things are starting to pick up a little bit here, but I've been busy. I just came back from Sugar Creek, Ohio, Amish town, shooting a new TV series, and then I head out next weekend to Raleigh, North Carolina to shoot a feature. So, knock on wood, I've been busy. It's been great, but things are starting to come back.
Alan, I knew Lance when it was LSUNO and the drama department. Okay, and then it became UNO.
A few years ago.
So it's just a few years ago, but I'm so excited. And you were out, even though you're a New Orleans guy, you were out in LA for many years and made this decision to move back.
Yes, I did. I was in Los Angeles for 25 years where I met my wife, even though she's from here, so that proves that God has a sense of humor. And we've been back since 2002, and we absolutely love being back
And of
home.
course, the list of your credits is long, but I know many folks remember you from Treme, the series Treme.
Yes,
too.
I was Dennis Larry Williams for 4 years on the series Treme, and if people want to go back even further, I was the faith-healing preacher in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button,
Oh,
which a lot of people still remember me from that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, very good. Well, we're glad to have you in
I'm
any
glad to
role
be
that
back
you
here.
play.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Bruce, oh my goodness, the ultimate Beatles fan, but you put your money where your mouth is, and also the books. 16 books so far?
Yes, 16, and I'm
another
working
new
on
one.
book number 17.
Okay, but let's talk about the new one.
Yes.
And of course, there's an anniversary too.
Yes, the latest book I have is this book here, The Beatles, A Hard Day's Night, and More. There's plenty more in it, but this is the 60th anniversary of A Hard Day's Night. And the thing about the film that many people miss is in the United States, even though the Beatles were selling millions of records, drew a crowd of 73 million to watch them on the Ed Sullivan Show, if you read the reviews of those TV performances, you would have thought that they had a amateur hour on and they were lambasting how talentless this group was. And in the United States, adults in the mainstream media really didn't appreciate the talent of the Beatles until the film A Hard Day's Night. It got excellent reviews in the UK, and there were comparisons made to the Marx Brothers. And so people went in to see the film getting ready to say, is that really true? And then some of the reviews in the States even said, comparisons to the Marx Brothers aren't that far-fetched after all, that they're very talented. And they even recognized that the songs were good. So I think that was its legacy in the U.S. That's what it took for the Beatles to be fully appreciated by adults in the United States.
Now, you have been collecting for many years a lot of ephemera, and so you're compiling articles as well as, there's so many wonderful images. Tell us about those. Look at that book. How many pages and how many images?
Oh, yeah. The book has about 350 images.
Oh,
and
so if you're a fan, this is it.
And the images are either in color or original black and white. The other thing that my graphic designer, Diana Thornton, who's been with me from the beginning, work on is we like to do layouts so that if you're reading something on a page, the image is right on the next page or on that page itself, so you're not flipping back and forth. And we spend a lot of times to use an intelligent layout to make the book a pleasant reading experience.
Now, I don't believe you were there that night, but you certainly know a lot about, this is an anniversary for the Beatles concert at Tag Norman. My husband was there, and all he remembered was that he could barely hear the music because the girls were just screaming. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the unique thing about this concert is, which makes it different than the other Beatle concerts, because all of them had screaming, was that it was at a football stadium. And a lot of the girls at one point, I think it was during Can't Buy Me Love, they left the seats and rushed onto the field. Now, of course, NOPD wasn't going to allow that, and a lot of the NOPD were on horseback. And you had police on horsebacks chasing after these girls and scooping them up and bringing them back. You also had several girls who had gotten together and decided that they would rent wheelchairs and pretend that they were injured so they could be closer to the stage. And when the Beatles came on, it was amazing. It was faith healing. And all these girls jumped up and screamed. So they were kind of caught for that. So there were some really unique things. And when the concert was over, before the end, and Paul said, we'll be doing our last number. And he said, I want to say thank you to everyone in the crowd, including the football players, meaning all the fans who had rushed on the field.
My goodness. Well, I mean, we could go on for days about this, but I remember listening to WTIX and the
Yeah.
other stations talking about the pieces of the sheet from the Congress
Yeah.
and the sheets that they
Microphone cords, they sold microphone cords
all
too.
these little tidbits that they were, offering up for their eager listeners.
Yes.
So much fun. Now, of course, this book, though, is focusing on Hard Day's Night.
Yes.
But I mean, so many of us remember when we watched the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yes,
I mean,
indeed.
that's really crystallized. And I remember buying my first ever record, which was, I saw her standing there and I Want to Hold Your
Yeah,
Hand. I
yeah.
think it was $1.05 or something. At K&B,
Yes.
Cats and Best Of, right there in
Sold to
Carrollton.
someone wearing a purple vest, no doubt.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Carrollton and Oak. The Cats and Best Of was so smart about selling so much more than the usual expected goods.
Yes,
you know.
indeed.
Love that. Love that. How did you become such an inveterate Beatles fan?
For me, it was hearing I Want to Hold Your Hand on the Newman school bus in early January of '64. It sounded so different. And I had a radio in my room, and I not only was hearing it on the school bus, but I was also hearing it at night. And to me, that did it. And then shortly after that, I started hearing She Loves You and Please Please Me and Twist and Shout, saw The Sullivan Show. And, my mom took me to Studio A on Marshall Food off Harrison Avenue.
Owned by Harry Connick
And I
Sr.
had Harry Connick Jr. And I had all my quarters, to buy the album. And my mother realized that was probably a half a year's of allowance, so she paid for it. And the nice thing, I still have the album, and on the back there's a little sticker that says, "This album belongs to," and I wrote my name on it, and under that it said, and it came from Studio A, of course.
Oh, I love it. Now you're going to be, and this is foreshadowing what we're about to talk about with Danny.
Yes, indeed.
On Saturday, November 2nd, you're going to be at the Book Festival. Tell us
Yes.
what you're going to talk about the book.
I'm going to talk
Of
about
course.
the book. I'm going to give a presentation on A Hard Day's Night, and in it I'm going to show a lot of clips from rock and roll films that were before A Hard Day's Night, and really explain how rock and roll and the movies work together and how those synergies developed.
Okay, and you're signing after that,
Yes.
from noon to 12:45, but then you're going to do your presentation at 11 to 11:45. But all this is on the Louisiana Book Festival website, Beatle.net. Wow.
Yeah.
That's where anything related to Mr. Bruce Spizer is on. That's quite the website.
I was very fortunate to get that from somebody a long time ago when the internet was first born. He just, took a bunch of names like that and offered it to me. And of course, I wasn't going to turn down a name like that.
No, not at all. Well, welcome. Glad to see you.
Thank you so much.
Danny, yeah, you're a busy bee.
It's very busy right now up at the State Library in Baton Rouge. You don't think of libraries being busy, but this time of year we are dotting I's, crossing T's for the Louisiana Book Festival. It's a huge event every year. This will be the 20th year, began in 2002. For anyone doing the math at home saying, well, that doesn't quite add up to 20, there was Katrina 1 year, budget cuts 1 year, and COVID, of course. So the festival hasn't just survived, it's thrived. And last year we had just an estimated more than 21,000 people show up.
Wow.
Like I said, it's a very big day. At Jazz Fest, they got the cubes that come out. We've got our, what we can call kind of the Book Fest blocks, we'll call them.
Blocks.
And this is a good visual representation of just how many people are going to be there. Bruce is going to be one of more than 200 authors
Okay,
and presenters
including
at
myself.
the Book
I'm
Festival.
glad.
You'll be there
We're
as well.
talking
Errol's going to
literary
be
New
there as
Orleans,
well.
and my husband Errol too.
That's right.
But what is so exciting about this too is that it's something for everybody. That old adage, and a lot of family things too.
Absolutely. Very family friendly. We've got activities all day long for everyone from toddlers up to the oldest readers, and it's free as well.
That's a good deal.
It's convenient to get to in the sense of you take I-10, come up to Baton Rouge, get to the state capitol. There's free on-street parking. There's some parking available in a garage nearby. And if you've found the capitol, you have found the Book Festival.
I like that, the location and the way that you all utilize those buildings. And if you've never been into the Capitol, the actually working state Capitol, it's utilizing the committee rooms and even the main chamber
Absolutely.
sometimes.
We've got the House chamber, the Senate chamber, so where our state lawmakers sit and do their work. You can sit and listen to your authors.
And also
authors
at the
present.
library nearby, too.
Yep.
Now, every year, though, you honor someone. So tell us about that.
That's right. Every year, it's the Louisiana Writer Award. This is our 25th Writer Award, I believe. It's going to be a poet named David Kirby. He's a professor, English professor at Florida State, but he's from the Baton Rouge area, born and raised in Louisiana. And he's had about 40-year career so far, and he's published a book basically every year of his career. And a lot of his work is inspired by Louisiana. And so when it came time to find this year's recipient, they thought no one better. And so, and not only has he done, his big thing is poetry. He hasn't only done that, he's done a lot of music writing, a biography of Little Richard, for example. He's also written music coverage for the Chicago Tribune, Washington Post, a few other newspapers. And so again, a very good guy and very deserving of that award.
Well, I am excited, as I said, about being involved, and we're going to show a fairly long excerpt of our recent documentary, Literary New Orleans. But one of the persons who's in it is Maurice Carlos Ruffin, who was last year's recipient.
That's
and he's
right.
going to be with us talking
He'll
about
be
it.
back again this year. He's actually got a new novel. And
Yes.
funny enough, it's called The American Daughters. Time magazine describes it as an enthralling tale of a secret resistant movement run by black women in pre-Civil War New Orleans. So very good novel there. Maurice is starting to make a name for himself, like you said, last year's Writer Award recipient. In fact, the Louisiana Center for the Book, which operates with the State Library, selected that book to be represented this year at the National Book Festival in Washington, D.C. So Maurice is quickly making a name for himself. I'd say keep an eye out for what he's going to be doing.
You know, I'm also excited you all do the One Book, One Festival. Tell us a little about that, too.
That's right. And that is where every year we select a book. This year it's Eudora Welty's The Optimist's Daughter. And the
Set in New Orleans?
Set in New Orleans, that's right. I think it begins around Carnival season. And the idea is that everyone can go get a copy of the book, read it together, and the day of the festival, discuss it together. It's Dr. Gary Richards is going to be back to lead that discussion. He's a perennial festival favorite and always a hit.
And he'll do that in the morning. So it's really
Absolutely.
your own little book club, if you will.
That's right. That's a very good way to describe it.
Great fun. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Okay. And now it's time for our picks of the week. Alan.
Well, there are two events coming up with the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra that you really should know about. First of all, this Saturday at Mandeville's Lakefront Park, the LPO will be performing for 2.5 hours at sunset. Always a free concert. They have some light classical fare as well, but some great pieces from the movies. But bring your chairs, bring your blankets. A free event, the Sunset Symphony. And then next Wednesday, the LPO returns to its home at the Orpheum Theater for Respighi's The Pines of Rome. Conductor and artistic director Matthew Kramer will conduct, and pianist Gabriela Martinez, one of the most lovely pianists I've seen, will be featured on the piano. Don't miss this fantastic performance. I'll see you all at the theater.
You can go and have a Sazerac before the Roosevelt and just walk across the street.
I've done that too,
I was going to say, that has been done. We are so fortunate to have the Orpheum, and there really isn't a bad seat in the house.
No. And it's a very unusual way that the venue is, that the stage is a wide stage rather than the conventional stages you've got. In other words, the way that the seating is different. It's a little bit different. If you go to the Sanger, you know what I'm talking about. The way that the stage is opened up to the audience and to the different levels. So I love it over there, and I think it's wonderful for the sound. It's really good.
And it's been lovingly restored.
Yes.
Looks great.
Yes.
Okay. Lance, now, once again, another hat, sir, that you wear is teacher. And you do this, and I know during the pandemic you were doing it even online. If anybody wants to reach you, your email address?
My email address is ellisandlarry, Nichol 619 @earthlink.net. They can also find me on Instagram at Lance E. Nichols.
All right, Lance, good for you. And Bruce,
Yes.
once again, that incredible website name, you're a lucky guy.
Yes, indeed. As I've said, it's great having Beatle.net. And, it's over the years I've enjoyed a good working relationship with Apple and Universal Music Group, which took over EMI and Capitol. And there's a project coming out on November 22nd, the first 7 U.S. albums like Meet the Beatles, the Beatles' second album, A Hard Day's Night, Something New, Beatles 65 and those. And they're going to be available in vinyl for the first time since the mid-'90s, and actually in mono pressing for the first time since 1967 or 68.
Wow.
And on that project, I served as a consultant, and I also wrote special essays for each of the albums.
Oh, exciting.
That'll be included.
Well, great. Okay, Danny. Workshops, I should
Workshops,
say,
that's
huh?
right. The book festival itself is Saturday, November 2nd. It technically begins the day before, Friday, November 1st. If you've ever wanted to learn to be an author, children's books, poetry, nonfiction, fiction, we've got workshops all day at the State Library.
All right, thank you. And now my picks on Friday, the Friends of the Cabildo's Ghostly Gallivant focuses on tales of infamous Gallatin Street, today's French marketplace. This den of iniquity and nefarious folk will be portrayed in 20-minute sketches with music and food at the Cabildo. It's a mini fundraiser for the Friends of the Cabildo. All right, friendsofthecabildo.org. On Saturday evening, the Crew of Boo Halloween Parade begins at Elysian Fields at 6:30 p.m. and winds through the quarter. crewofboo.com also for the route. Saturday night, the Houston Ballet will perform at the Mahalia Jackson Theater as part of the New Orleans Ballet Association season. Noba Dance, I love that, nobadance.com. And a Day of the Dead altar created by artist Hugo Montero will be on view in City Park's Botanical Garden that's next Wednesday in time for the Evenings with Enrique concert, and through November the 2nd, Day of the Dead. And before we leave, I'm going to put you on the spot, Bruce, your favorite Beatles album.
Favorite Beatles album would be the White Album. Not their best,
Really?
but my favorite.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you all so very much, and thank you for watching. Good night.
Programming on WYES is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
From Masterpiece to Nova, Antiques Roadshow to Agatha Christie.
And of course, Steppin' Out and Informed Sources.
We are pleased to support public television
It's been our passion.
for a lifetime.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org. This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area. The Chicory House Bistro at the Rink offers breakfast and lunch daily. And now a new bar upstairs inside the Garden District Bookshop, 2727 Britannia Street at Washington Avenue. Learn more at therinknola.com.